Dr. Hansel Park walked through the empty corridors of the abandoned merchant ship. The emergency lights cast long shadows on the metal walls. As the lead medical officer from Galactic Medical Station Epsilon, she had to check every ship that asked for emergency docking, even if it seemed empty. Her medical scanner beeped steadily as she moved from room to room. The ship's crew had left in a hurry 3 days ago, sending only a short message about engine problems. But something felt wrong. Hansel had been a doctor for 15 years, and her instincts rarely failed her. Central Control, this is Dr. Park. She spoke into her communicator. Level 1 seems clear. Moving to the cargo hold. The cargo hold doors opened with a loud hiss. Hansel's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, showing rows of large metal containers. Most were empty, their doors left open, but one container in the corner caught her attention. Unlike the others, it was sealed tight and had frost forming around its edges. Hansel checked her scanner again. This time, it showed something different. Very weak life signs coming from inside the container. She walked closer, her heart beating faster. The container's control panel showed it was a stasis unit, the kind used for transporting living creatures. But its power was almost gone. Central, I'm picking up life signs, she reported, requesting immediate medical backup and emergency power units. She wiped the frost from the container's small window and looked inside. What she saw made her gasp. 15 small creatures lay huddled together. They looked like baby dragons from Earth's old stories, with scaled bodies and tiny folded wings. Their scales shimmered in different colors, but they were too still, too quiet. Hansel recognized them immediately. They were Verdant Commonwealth dragon hatchlings. The Verdant Commonwealth was one of the oldest species in the galaxy, proud and traditional. But these hatchlings weren't moving right. Their wings looked different from normal hatchlings she had seen in medical texts. They're alive, but barely, she muttered, quickly connecting her medical scanner to the container systems. The readings showed the truth. All 15 hatchlings had a genetic condition affecting their wing development. In Verdant Commonwealth culture, such hatchlings were seen as imperfect and were usually. Hansel didn't want to finish that thought. The sound of running footsteps echoed through the cargo hold. Dr. Ji-Won Lee, her friend, and the station's best xenobiologist, arrived with 2 medical technicians carrying portable power units. Hansel, what did you find? Ji-Won asked, already pulling out his medical equipment. 15 Verdant Commonwealth hatchlings, all alive but critical, Hansel answered, working quickly to connect the power units. They have a genetic condition. The container's power was failing. A few more hours, and Ji-Won's face turned serious as he looked through the window. The Verdant Commonwealth. They did this on purpose, didn't they? Left them here too. Yes, Hansel said firmly. But not on my watch. Help me get this container to Medical Bay 7. It's unused right now. You know this could cause problems, Ji-Won warned, even as he helped her prepare the container for transport. The Verdant Commonwealth has strict laws about genetic purity. If we interfere, Hansel looked at the tiny creatures inside the container. One of them moved slightly, its small clawed hand pressing against the window as if asking. Medical Bay 7 was dark and quiet when Hansel and Ji-Won moved the container inside. The room had been empty for months, used only for storage. Now it would become a secret nursery for 15 dying dragon hatchlings. Lock the door, Hansel ordered as she connected the container to the medical bay's power supply. The equipment hummed to life, and bright medical screens lit up the room. We need to check each hatchling carefully. Ji-Won typed quickly on the room's control panel. I've rerouted the power usage through other medical bays. It won't hide everything, but it should avoid immediate attention. Hansel nodded, focused on the container's controls. The temperature inside had to be raised slowly. Too fast, and the sudden change could harm the hatchlings. Too slow, and they might not survive. She watched the numbers climb degree by degree. The first one is ready to come out, she said after 30 minutes. Her hands were steady as she opened the container, but her heart was racing. Breaking protocol like this could end her medical career. But as she lifted the small dragon hatchling, feeling its weak heartbeat against her palms, she knew she had made the right choice. The hatchling was beautiful, with scales that shifted between green and gold. Its wings were smaller than normal, folded tight against its body. But when Hansol placed it on the medical bed, the tiny creature opened its eyes. They were bright purple, full of intelligence and fear. "Hello, little one," Hansol said softly. The hatchling watched her every move as she ran her scanner over its body. "G1, look at this. The wing structure is different, but it's not bad. It's just new." Ji1 came closer, studying the readings. "You're right. The bones are denser, more compact. And look at these energy readings. They're unlike anything in our medical records." One by one, they'd brought out all 15 hatchlings. Each one had similar wing structures, but their scales were different colors: blues, reds, silvers, and purples. Some were stronger than others, but all were fighting to live. "They need food," Ji1 said, checking their vital signs. "But we can't use standard Verdant Commonwealth formula. Their digestive systems are different too." Hansol was already mixing nutrients in the medical bay's synthesis unit. "We'll have to create something new. Match it to their exact needs." She worked quickly, combining different elements until the scanner showed a compatible mixture. The first hatchling sniffed the offered food carefully, then began to eat. Its color brightened immediately, scales glowing with new strength. The others soon followed, their weak cries growing stronger. Suddenly, the medical bay's door chimed. Hansol and Ji1 froze. Through the 2 weeks had passed since Hansol and Ji1 began caring for the dragon hatchlings. Medical Bay 7 now looked very different. The old nursery equipment from storage level B3 had given them everything they needed: special heating units, monitoring systems, and even small sleeping pods designed for young patients. Hansol stood at her workstation, studying the latest test results with tired eyes. The standard Verdant Commonwealth medical treatments weren't working. Their medicine was designed for normal hatchlings, not these special ones with their unique genetic structure. "Their wing strength is still too weak," she said to Ji1, who was feeding the smallest hatchling. "The traditional strengthening programs might hurt them instead of helping." Ji1 nodded, watching as the tiny dragon finished its meal. "We need to think differently. These hatchlings aren't like regular Verdant Commonwealth dragons. There's something new." Hansol turned to her computer and opened Earth's historical medical database. "Maybe we're looking in the wrong place," she said. "Earth has thousands of years of experience caring for reptiles. The old veterinary records might help us understand their needs better." As she searched through the ancient files, one of the stronger hatchlings crawled onto her desk. It was the first one they had saved, the one with green-gold scales. Hansol had started calling it Sun because its scales shined brightest in the morning light. Sun watched the screen with curious purple eyes. "Look at this," Hansol said suddenly. Old Earth doctors used special exercises for injured reptiles. They worked with their natural movements instead of forcing them to follow normal patterns. She looked at Sun, who was now trying to spread its small wings. "We've been trying to make them move like regular hatchlings, but their bodies want to move differently." Ji1 came closer, still holding the smaller hatchling. "You mean we should create new exercises based on how they naturally want to move?" "Exactly." Hansol stood up and walked to the medical fabricator. "And I think we can use our advanced technology to help them. What if we made special support braces that work with their unique wing structure?" For the next few hours, they designed and created lightweight braces for the hatchling's wings. The braces didn't force the wings to spread like normal dragon wings. Instead, they supported the new wing structure these hatchlings had developed. Sun was the first to try the new brace. At first, it moved carefully, getting used to the feeling. Then, slowly, it spread its wings. They didn't open as wide as regular dragon wings, but they moved smoothly and strongly. Sun chirped happily and jumped around the desk. "It's working," Jai-1 said, smiling. "They don't need to move like other dragons. They just need to move like themselves." Han Sol watched as Sun demonstrated its new ability to the other hatchlings. Each one seemed excited, wanting to try the braces too. She started making more, adjusting each set to fit the unique shape of each hatchling's wings. Later that night, as Han Sol was recording the day's progress, Officer Do-hyun arrived with his nightly security check. He smiled when he saw all the hatchlings wearing their new braces, practicing their wing movements. "They're getting stronger," he said, watching as Sun flew a short distance from one desk to another. It wasn't the same kind of flight as regular dragons, but it was beautiful in its own way. "They are," Han Sol agreed. "And we're learning something important. Different doesn't mean wrong. These hatchlings aren't defective. They're just unique. And sometimes unique is exactly what's needed to move forward." Do-hyun nodded thoughtfully. The Verdant Commonwealth has followed the same medical traditions for thousands of years. Maybe it's time for them to learn something new. He paused. "But we need to be careful. More people are noticing the power usage in this section. We can't keep this secret forever." Han Sol looked at the hatchlings, now sleeping peacefully in their pods. "We just need a little more time. They're almost strong enough. And when people see what they can do, maybe they'll understand that change isn't always bad. Sometimes it's exactly what we need to grow." Administrator Yoon Hee Choi stood in her office, staring at the power consumption reports on her screen. Her face showed concern as she studied the unusual patterns coming from Medical Bay 7. The numbers had been strange for weeks now, and she could no longer ignore them. "Computer, call Dr. Han Sol Park to my office immediately," she ordered. While waiting, she pulled up more data about the Medical Bay's activity. The power usage matched patterns typically seen in intensive care units, but Medical Bay 7 was supposed to be empty. Han Sol arrived quickly, her medical uniform slightly wrinkled from a long shift. She noticed the power consumption charts on the administrator's screen and felt her heart beat faster. "Dr. Park," Yoon Hee began formally, "would you care to explain why an supposedly empty medical bay is using enough power to run a small hospital wing?" Han Sol took a deep breath. She had known this moment would come, but she had hoped for more time. The hatchlings were stronger now, but they weren't ready to face the world yet. "Administrator Choi, I need to show you something," Han Sol said carefully. "But what I'm about to reveal must remain confidential. Lives depend on it." Yoon Hee's expression remained stern, but she nodded. Together, they walked to Medical Bay 7. When Han Sol opened the door, Yoon Hee gasped at what she saw. The medical bay had transformed into a nursery. 15 young dragon hatchlings moved about, some practicing with their special wing braces, others sleeping in heated pods. Sun, now the strongest of the group, flew a short distance to land on a nearby monitoring station. "These are Verdant Commonwealth hatchlings," Han Sol explained quickly. "They were abandoned to die because of their unique wing structure. We've been caring for them in secret." Yoon Hee watched as Sun chirped cheerfully and displayed its modified wings. The administrator's face showed a mix of emotions: surprise, concern, and something else. "Do you understand what you've done?" Yoon Hee asked quietly. "The Verdant Commonwealth has strict laws about genetic purity. This could cause a diplomatic crisis. We could lose our medical station's neutral status." "I understand the risks," Han Sol replied firmly. "But these hatchlings deserve to live. They're not defective. They're different. And their differences might be exactly what the galaxy needs." As if to prove her point, Sun suddenly lifted off again. This time, instead of just flying straight, it performed a complex maneuver that would be impossible for a regular dragon hatchling. Its unique wing structure allowed it to turn and hover in ways normal dragons couldn't. He watched the display with growing interest. How many people know about this? Just Dr. Jae-won Lee and Officer Do-hyun Kim. They've been helping me care for the hatchlings. The administrator walked around the medical bay, examining the modified equipment and special feeding stations. She stopped at Hansol's workstation and reviewed the medical data displayed there. "Your research shows these hatchlings have abilities that normal dragons don't," she said, reading through the files. "And you've developed entirely new medical procedures to care for them." "Yes," Hansol confirmed. "Their different genetic structure isn't a flaw. It's an evolution. But they needed someone to give them a chance to survive and grow." Yoon-hee stood silent for a long moment, watching the hatchlings. Finally, she turned to Hansol. "If word of this gets out, there will be serious consequences. The Verdant Commonwealth won't be pleased." Hansol's heart sank, but she stood her ground. "I understand. I'll accept full responsibility." "You misunderstand," Yoon-hee said, a small smile appearing on her face. "I'm not shutting you down. I'm going to help you protect them. But we need to be smart about this. The station's resources are at your disposal, but we must prepare for the day when we can't keep this secret anymore." Hansol felt tears of relief in her eyes. "Thank you, Administrator." "Don't thank me yet," Yoon-hee warned. "The real challenge is still coming. When the Verdant Commonwealth learns about this, we'll need more than just good intentions to protect these little ones. We'll need proof that their differences are valuable. Keep working, Dr. Park. Document everything. We're going to need it all." The news reached the Verdant Commonwealth faster than anyone expected. A trading ship captain had noticed the unusual energy readings from Medical Bay 7 and reported them to his superiors. Now, 3 weeks after Administrator Yoon-hee had discovered the hatchlings, a Verdant Commonwealth ship approached the medical station. Hansol stood in the main docking bay with Administrator Yoon-hee, Dr. Jae-won, and Officer Do-gyun. They watched as the sleek silver ship connected to the station. The ship's design showed elegant curves and precise engineering, reflecting the Verdant Commonwealth's ancient culture. "Remember," Yoon-hee said quietly, "let me speak first. We must handle this carefully." The docking bay doors opened. High Commissioner Rand emerged, his large dragon form filling the doorway. His scales were deep green with gold patterns, showing his high rank. 2 younger dragons followed him, carrying data tablets and scientific equipment. "Administrator Choi," Rand spoke, his voice deep and formal. "We received disturbing reports about unauthorized medical procedures being performed on Verdant Commonwealth subjects." "High Commissioner," Yoon-hee bowed respectfully. "We welcome you to Medical Station Epsilon. I believe there are matters we should discuss privately." Rand's eyes narrowed. "There is nothing to discuss. Our laws are clear. Genetic impurity must not be preserved. Take us to these subjects immediately." Hansol stepped forward, despite Yoon-hee's warning glance. "Sir, these are not just subjects. They are living, thinking beings who have shown remarkable progress." "Dr. Park," Rand turned to her, his expression cold. "You are the one who interfered with our traditions, who kept alive what nature intended to remove." "I kept alive children who deserved a chance," Hansol replied firmly. "Please, come see them before you make any judgments." The walk to Medical Bay 7 was tense. When they arrived, Sun and the other hatchlings were awake and active. They had grown considerably over the past weeks. Their modified wings allowed them to move in ways that made the younger Verdant Commonwealth scientists whisper to each other in surprise. Rand watched silently as Sun demonstrated its unique flying abilities. The hatchling could hover in place, make sharp turns, and move with incredible precision. These were movements impossible for normal Verdant Commonwealth dragons. "What is this?" Rand demanded. "These movements are not natural for our species." "That's exactly the point," Hansol explained, bringing up the medical data on the main screen. "Their genetic structure isn't a defect. It's an adaptation. Watch this." She pressed a button, and small energy sensors emerged from the ceiling. Sun immediately responded, its scales glowing slightly. The sensors recorded massive energy readings. These hatchlings can manipulate energy fields in ways no other Verdant Commonwealth dragon can. Hansol continued. Their compact wing structure and modified scales allow them to interact with energy in completely new ways. One of the younger scientists stepped forward eagerly. "High Commissioner, these readings, they match the theoretical models we've been trying to achieve for centuries. The ability to manipulate energy fields has been a goal of our research for generations." Rand's expression changed slightly. He watched as all 15 hatchlings demonstrated their abilities, working together to create complex energy patterns in the air. The evidence was impossible to ignore. "You say this is not a defect," he said slowly, "but an evolution." "Yes," Hansol answered. "Different doesn't always mean wrong. Sometimes it means better. These hatchlings represent a new possibility for your species. They deserve to be protected and studied, not discarded." The High Commissioner stood silent for a long moment. The future of 15 young lives hung in the balance. Finally, he turned to his scientists. "Document everything," he ordered. "I want full reports on their abilities, their development, and their potential." He looked at Hansol. "Dr. Park, it seems we have much to learn about the true meaning of progress." The next few days brought major changes to Medical Bay 7. Verdant Commonwealth scientists worked alongside Hansol and G1, studying the hatchlings with advanced equipment. The medical bay now looked like a research center, filled with monitoring devices and testing stations. Hansol watched as Sun performed another energy manipulation test. The young dragon's scales glowed brightly as it created complex patterns in the air. The energy readings on the nearby screens showed numbers that made the Verdant Commonwealth scientists exchange excited looks. "Dr. Park," called one of the younger scientists named Hell. "These results are remarkable. The hatchling's energy control is far more precise than anything we've achieved before." Hansol nodded, reviewing the data. "Their unique wing structure seems to work like a natural energy focusing system. The compact design allows for better control." Pell moved to another screen, bringing up genetic analysis results. "We've been looking at this all wrong for centuries," he said. "What we thought was a defect is actually an advancement. These hatchlings represent the next step in our species' evolution." In another corner of the medical bay, G1 worked with 3 other hatchlings. They were learning to combine their energy fields, creating larger and more complex patterns. The sight reminded Hansol of ancient Earth stories about dragons performing magic. High Commissioner Rand entered the medical bay, looking much different from his first visit. The cold anger was gone from his face, replaced by careful attention, as he studied the latest test results. "Dr. Park," he called, gesturing for her to join him. "Our historical records show something interesting. There were similar hatchlings born 500 years ago, but they were—" He paused, his voice growing quiet. "They were eliminated according to our traditions." "What happened to their research data?" Hansol asked. "There was none. Our laws forbade studying genetic variations." Rand's scales shifted color slightly, showing his discomfort. "We may have destroyed the future of our species many times over because of our fear of difference." As they talked, Sun landed on a nearby table. The hatchling had grown stronger every day, its green-gold scales now bright and healthy. It looked at Rand without fear, chirping softly. "The other hatchlings followed this one's lead," Rand observed. "It shows remarkable intelligence." "Sun was the first one we saved," Hansol explained. "It learned to use the wing braces quickly and taught the others. They work as a team now." Rand watched as Sun demonstrated a new energy pattern, creating a complex field that could deflect small objects. This ability, it could revolutionize our shield technology, our space travel methods, even our medical procedures. "Because you gave them a chance to live," Hansol said quietly. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from unexpected places." The High Commissioner was silent for a moment. Then he turned to face all the scientists in the room. "I am sending a message to the Commonwealth Council today. Our laws regarding genetic variation must change. These hatchlings have proven that our traditional views were wrong." "What will happen to them?" Hansol asked, concerned for her charge's future. They will be the first students at a new research academy, Rand announced. We will build it here, at Medical Station Epsilon, where human and verdant Commonwealth scientists can work together. Their unique abilities must be understood and developed properly. Han Sol felt tears in her eyes as she watched Sun fly back to join its companions. The hatchling's wings may not have matched the traditional verdant Commonwealth pattern, but they had carried it to places the old ways never could have reached. Your compassion has taught us a valuable lesson, Dr. Park, Rand said. Progress cannot happen if we refuse to accept change. These little ones will help build a better future for all of us. The great meeting hall of the Galactic Medical Council was filled with representatives from 100 different species. Han Sol stood at the speaker's platform, facing the assembled delegates. Behind her, a large screen showed images of the hatchlings and their remarkable progress. 3 months ago, Han Sol began, 15 young lives were abandoned because they were different. Today, these same hatchlings are helping us understand new possibilities in energy manipulation and medical science. The council members watched with great interest as video footage showed the hatchlings working together, creating complex energy patterns that could be used for healing and protection. Sun, now nearly twice its original size, demonstrated how it could use its energy fields to repair damaged tissue. The verdant Commonwealth has already started changing its laws, Han Sol continued. But this issue affects more than one species. How many potential breakthroughs have we lost because of our fear of difference? In the audience, other medical professionals began to speak up. A doctor from the Crystal Sphere Alliance described similar cases among their people. A chief healer from the ocean worlds shared stories of unique mutations that had been hidden away. Administrator Yunhee, sitting in the front row, stood to address the council. Medical Station Epsilon proposes the creation of a new department. We will study and protect genetic variations that might benefit future generations. The council chamber filled with discussion. Many species had followed practices similar to the verdant Commonwealth, eliminating anything that seemed different from their standard genetic patterns. But now, seeing the success of the hatchlings, they began to question these old traditions. High Commissioner Rand stepped forward to join Han Sol at the platform. My people have lived by the same laws for thousands of years, he announced. We thought we were protecting our species. Instead, we were holding ourselves back. These hatchlings have shown us a better way. As if to emphasize his point, Sun flew into the chamber through a side door. The young dragon's flight was graceful and precise, its energy field visible as a soft glow around its body. The council members watched in amazement as Sun demonstrated its healing abilities, helping a small injured bird that had been brought in for the demonstration. This is not just about medical science, Han Sol said, watching Sun work. This is about seeing the value in every life. Different does not mean wrong. Sometimes different is exactly what we need to move forward. The council president, an elderly being from one of the oldest species in the galaxy, rose from her seat. Dr. Park, your actions have shown us something important. We have called ourselves advanced societies, yet we have clung to practices that deny the possibility of positive change. She turned to address the entire assembly. I propose we establish the Galactic Genetic Diversity Protection Act. No more children will be abandoned because they are different. Instead, we will study and understand these variations. They may hold the keys to our future. The vote that followed was nearly unanimous. Species after species pledged to change their laws and practices. Medical stations across the galaxy would now protect and study genetic variations instead of eliminating them. As the meeting ended, Han Sol felt a gentle bump against her shoulder. Sun had landed beside her, its purple eyes bright with intelligence. The hatchling that she had first saved now stood as proof that compassion and science could work together to create positive change. You did well, Administrator Yunhee said, joining them. This will change medical practice across the galaxy. And it all started because one doctor refused to ignore 15 lives that needed help. 1 year had passed since the Galactic Medical Council's historic decision. Medical Station Epsilon had grown significantly, with a new wing dedicated to genetic research and care. The once quiet Medical Bay 7 had become the heart of the station's most important work. Hansol walked through the expanded facility, observing the many changes. The medical bay now housed young patients from different species, each one unique in their own way. In one room, a group of crystalline beings with unusual growth patterns learned to control their advanced light processing abilities. In another, aquatic youngsters with modified gill structures practiced new swimming techniques. Sun and the other dragon hatchlings, now nearly fully grown, had their own special role. They had become teachers and healers, helping the new arrivals adjust to their unique abilities. Sun, in particular, showed remarkable skill in calming frightened young patients and helping them understand their potential. "Dr. Park," called a familiar voice. Hansol turned to see High Commissioner Rand entering the medical bay. He now served as the head of the Verdant Commonwealth's new genetic research division. The latest results from the energy manipulation studies are remarkable. They walked together to the main research area, where several of the original hatchlings worked with scientists. The dragon's ability to manipulate energy fields had led to breakthroughs in medical treatment. Their healing techniques were now being used across the galaxy. "The Galactic Medical Preservation Act has changed everything," Rand continued. "In just 1 year, we've discovered 17 new beneficial genetic variations across different species. Each one offers unique advantages we never imagined possible." Administrator Yoon, he joined them, carrying new reports. "Medical stations throughout the galaxy are sending us their research data. The old barriers are breaking down. Species that once hidden their differences are now sharing their knowledge." Hansol watched as Sun demonstrated an advanced healing technique to a group of medical students. The dragon's energy field glowed softly as it repaired a complex tissue injury. The students, representing 12 different species, took careful notes. "Did you ever imagine this would happen?" Jae-won asked, walking up to join them. He had recently been appointed as the head of the station's new cross-species medical exchange program. "All because you refused to give up on 15 abandoned hatchlings." Before Hansol could answer, a small commotion caught their attention. A new patient had arrived. A young verdant Commonwealth hatchling with unusual scale patterns. In the past, such variations would have meant rejection. Now, the little one was welcomed with open arms. Sun immediately flew over to the newcomer, gently demonstrating how to control its unique energy signature. The young hatchling's scales began to glow in response, showing similar abilities to the original 15. "This is what progress looks like," Hansol said softly, "not just in medicine or science, but in how we see each other. Every life has value. Every difference has potential." Officer Do-hyun, now the head of station security, appeared at the door. "The new medical transport is arriving," he announced. "They're bringing patients from the outer colonies who need our special care." Hansol looked around the medical bay one last time. The scared, weak hatchlings she had found in that abandoned cargo container were now strong, confident beings who helped others. Their story had changed not just one station or one species, but the entire galaxy's approach to medical care and genetic diversity. "We should go greet our new arrivals," she said with a smile. "After all, every new patient brings the possibility of another breakthrough, another step forward. That's the true legacy of what we started here, not just saving lives, but changing how we value them." As they walked to the docking bay, Sun flew alongside them, its wings moving in that unique way that had once been considered a defect. Now it was recognized as a symbol of evolution, of progress, and of the endless possibilities that came from choosing compassion over prejudice.